Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into modern sales management today. The world's been totally reshaped by all things digital, right? You want to know what that looks like? And you've given us a handbook to
Yeah,
guide us.
right.
So let's unpack it.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually. The old way of doing sales management, it just it just doesn't work like it used to. It's not just
Whoa.
about that smooth talking, closer personality anymore. It's about leading your team in a world that's overflowing with data. You know what I mean? And driven by tech.
Totally. It's not your dad's sales team, right? So let's jump into this handbook and
Yeah.
see what's really changed.
Well, right away, the handbook makes a pretty big statement.
Yeah.
It says the role of the sales manager, like totally different now.
Okay, how so?
Well, it used to be about managing, those transactions, the deals.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like managing a whole ecosystem. Like, think about it this way. A salesperson, they might talk to like 50 customers, but the whole sales force, they could be reaching more than 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So the impact is huge.
Yeah.
Sales managers now, they got to be strategic. They got to know data. They got to be able to motivate people.
It's like they're a conductor leading an orchestra, right?
Yeah, making sure everything works together.
Yeah.
The handbook, it talks about three main things: managing customers, managing people, and managing the business.
Okay.
And that last one, that's where the real strategy comes in. Like, sales managers need to see the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
They got to be ahead of the trends in the market, and their team has to be working towards those big goals.
That makes a lot of sense and shows how sales managers really have to be flexible, especially with technology changing so fast.
Yeah,
The handbook actually mentions AstraZeneca, right?
right.
Like as a good example.
Yeah, they actually ditched their whole field sales force for this one drug,
Yeah.
Nexium, and they replaced it with a massive inside sales team, over 300 people.
Wow.
It was a huge move.
Yeah.
It really shows how much, like, the pharmaceutical industry is going remote and digital for their sales.
Yeah, that's a major change. It shows how things are different now. Speaking of change, the handbook goes deep into this whole digital revolution
Yeah.
happening in sales. Like those days of just going with your gut, they're gone.
Right. Absolutely. The big things driving this are analytics and AI.
Hmm.
We're talking about using data to, like, really understand customers, see patterns, and make predictions. That would have been impossible a few years ago.
Okay, AI. Gotta ask about this. Does this mean robots are taking over sales jobs?
That's what people think, but it's not really true. The handbook makes it clear. Human judgment, intuition, that's still really important, especially in sales, because it's all about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So think of AI like a co-pilot,
Okay.
a tool that makes salespeople better, not replaces them.
So AI is like the sidekick.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
What are some ways AI is changing sales then?
Oh, it's amazing. AI can go through tons of data to find the best leads, personalize how you talk to customers, even tell a salesperson what to do next. It's like having a virtual assistant giving you tips.
Wow, that's powerful. Salespeople must be way more efficient now. Do you have any examples of companies using AI like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
UCB, a biopharmaceutical company, they're doing some cool stuff.
Hmm.
They gave their salespeople this AI avatar.
An avatar.
Receives real-time info about what doctors need and want.
So a sales rep goes to a doctor, and this avatar is like, hey, this is what the doctor likes.
Yeah. What their challenges are, how they prefer to talk.
That's incredible.
Right. It's like next level, knowing your customer.
Yeah.
The point is, AI isn't about getting rid of humans. It's about making those interactions better with data.
I'm starting to see how this AI thing can be helpful, less scary, more strategic. I like it.
It's about empowering salespeople.
Mm.
Now, we talked about how AI helps find leads and guide interactions,
Yeah.
but what about finding and keeping the best salespeople?
Oh, that's a big one. Every sales manager wants a team of superstars, right?
Exactly. And guess what? Data and AI are changing that game too. The handbook talks about how companies are using data to figure out what makes their ideal sales candidate.
Oh.
Like, what specific traits and behaviors make someone successful?
So not just a good resume or years of experience.
Right. It's deeper than that. Companies are looking at their current top performers to see patterns.
Yeah.
What do they have in common? What do they do that works best? By figuring that out, they can predict which new hires will be great and, importantly, stay with the company.
That makes sense because high turnover can really hurt a sales team. The handbook mentions this interesting thing Novartis does. It's called the performance frontier technique.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me more.
Novartis really got serious about data-driven hiring. They studied their best salespeople, but not just sales numbers and quotas. They wanted to see what those top performers did differently.
So what made them great?
Exactly. They called it the performance frontier.
Okay.
And they found these key behaviors that worked in their sales environment. Things like not giving up easily, being good listeners, and changing their approach based on what the customer said. Then they used all this info to change how they hired people, screening resumes, doing interviews, everything.
That's smart. It's like figuring out the secret code for good sales. Takes the guesswork out of hiring and helps you build a strong team who'll stick around.
Exactly, a win-win. But finding talent is only half the battle. The handbook also talks about how important it is to keep training your team to keep them engaged and up to date with the changing sales world.
Yeah, you can't just hire good people and then forget about them.
Right, you have to help them grow. What we're seeing now is companies moving away from those generic training programs and going towards more personalized learning based on what each person needs.
So it's like having a personal coach for sales skills.
Exactly. We're seeing things like microlearning, where you get small bits of info that are easy to understand and use.
Yeah.
Then there's gamification, which makes learning more fun and interactive. And of course, AI is starting to give personalized learning suggestions based on how you're performing.
Wow, it's amazing how tech is changing, not just how we sell, but also how we learn to sell. It's a whole new world.
It really is. We've covered a lot already, but there's so much more to talk about.
Okay.
The next big thing the handbook talks about is how recurring revenue models are changing the way we sell.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I'm ready to hear all about it.
Let's get into it.
So we're back. Last time we talked about how the sales manager's role is evolving in the digital age. All that data, AI, a more strategic approach.
Definitely.
But there's another big change happening that we have to talk about. It's these recurring revenue models.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a totally different way of thinking about sales compared to the old make a sale and move on approach. The handbook really gets into how this is changing things, especially for software and tech companies.
Okay, I'm curious. What exactly are we talking about here with recurring revenue, and why is it becoming so popular?
It's all about building relationships with customers that keep bringing in money. Think about those subscription services you use, software licenses, even those maintenance contracts. Instead of just trying to make a single sale, you're focused on creating loyal customers who pay you regularly, month after month, year after year.
So it's like having a reliable stream of income instead of just those one-time sales. I can see why businesses like that. But how does this change how sales actually works?
It changes everything. Salespeople aren't just closers anymore. They're building relationships. They're like consultants. They're trusted advisors. They need to understand what the customer needs in the long run and show them how their product can help them reach their goals over time.
It sounds like a much bigger picture approach to sales. It's not just about making that quick sale. It's more like partnering with the customer to help them succeed. But I imagine this takes a pretty big shift in how salespeople and sales managers think, right?
Absolutely. It's a new way of thinking, a new way of measuring success. Instead of just looking at how many sales you make, now you're focused on things like how much a customer is worth over their lifetime, how many customers you keep, and how much that recurring revenue grows.
Those are all about long-term growth, not just quick wins. It sounds much more strategic. The handbook talks about Adobe and how they switched to a subscription model for their creative cloud software. That must have been a big change. What were some of the challenges they faced?
Adobe is a really good example of how complicated it can be to switch to a recurring revenue model. At first, customers didn't like it. They're used to just buying the software once and owning it.
Yeah, I can see that.
But the sales team at Adobe, they did a great job of talking to customers and explaining the good things about this subscription model. Things like getting the latest updates, having cloud storage, and being able to work together on projects. It was a lot of work to get everyone on board. And it took time, patience, and really understanding what customers needed.
It makes sense that it would be hard to get people to change how they think about buying a product. And it probably wasn't just the customers who needed convincing, right?
Oh yeah, the whole company had to change. How salespeople got paid had to change to reward them for keeping customers happy. Marketing had to focus on keeping customers engaged. And of course, the sales team needed training and new tools to sell this subscription model.
So it was a total company makeover, not just a sales thing. What can other companies learn from what Adobe went through?
The biggest takeaway is you have to be really good at communicating. You have to explain the value of this new way of doing things to both customers and everyone inside the company. Don't try to hide the hard parts. Talk about them and offer solutions. And, really important, invest in your sales team. Give them the training, the tools, and the support they need to succeed.
Those are great points for any company thinking about switching to this kind of model. It's not easy. It's a fundamental change that needs a plan and a commitment to getting everyone on board. Now, let's switch gears and talk about something else really important in sales management: continuous improvement.
Yeah, the handbook really stresses this. The digital age is all about being quick, adaptable, and always trying to improve. You can't just stay the same.
It's like that saying, you have to run as fast as you can just to stay in place.
Exactly. You have to be constantly innovating, finding ways to be better, faster, and more efficient if you want to stay competitive.
But how do you actually create that culture of continuous improvement within a sales team? It sounds great in theory, but it must be hard to do.
The handbook gives some practical advice, and it starts with the leaders. They have to be the ones pushing for improvement, not just talking about it. They need to create an environment where people are encouraged to try new things, where mistakes are seen as opportunities to learn, and where data is used to make decisions.
So it's about creating a growth mindset where everyone is looking for ways to get better. The handbook actually mentions this cool thing Novartis does. It's called productivity hunts. It sounds like a game.
It's a great idea. Every year, they get all their smart people together to find ways to improve how their sales team works. It's not about blaming anyone. It's about working together to find solutions and make them happen.
What kind of problems have they solved with these productivity hunts? Any specific examples?
One year, they realized their sales team was spending way too much time on paperwork and admin stuff that wasn't actually selling.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah. So they figured out how to streamline those processes, giving salespeople more time to focus on building relationships and closing deals.
It's about working smarter, not harder. By getting rid of unnecessary tasks, they could be more productive without burning out their team.
Exactly. And it shows that improving doesn't always mean huge changes. Sometimes it's about finding those little inefficiencies that add up over time.
It's about being aware of how time is being used and making sure everyone is doing things that really matter. Now, let's be honest. Change management is a big part of continuous improvement. How do you deal with the pushback and uncertainty that comes with new processes or technology?
That's where leadership is key. Sales managers have to be good communicators. They have to clearly explain why things are changing, what the benefits will be, and how it all fits into the big picture.
It's not enough to just tell people to do something different. You have to explain the reasoning behind it.
Exactly. And you have to involve the sales team from the beginning. Don't just surprise them with changes. Ask for their feedback, address their worries, and make them feel like they're part of the solution.
That makes a big difference. When people feel included, they're more likely to accept change. The handbook also talks about balancing short-term thinking with long-term goals. That's tough, especially in sales where there's always pressure to hit those quarterly numbers.
It's a constant balancing act. But the best sales managers can focus on the big picture while also taking care of what needs to be done right now. They know that some things might not show results immediately, but will pay off in the long run.
It's like playing the long game, making smart choices that build a stronger sales team for the future. The handbook suggests thinking about how sales decisions will affect things a year from now, 5 years from now, even 10 years from now.
It's a good way to see the potential consequences of your actions. It forces you to think beyond just the immediate results and consider the long-term impact.
That's a powerful exercise. It can help you avoid making decisions that seem good now but cause problems later. Like, don't sacrifice the long term for a quick win, right?
Exactly. Another important part of long-term thinking is understanding how sales operations can support the sales team. In this digital age, sales ops is becoming more and more important.
They're the ones working behind the scenes to keep everything running smoothly. But their role seems to be growing beyond just logistics and admin tasks.
Definitely. They're now responsible for putting in place and managing all the technology that the sales team uses. They're like data experts who analyze performance, find trends, and give insights to help sales managers make better decisions.
Wow.
They're also playing a big role in those continuous improvement efforts we talked about earlier.
So they're more like strategic partners now, not just support staff. It sounds like sales operations is becoming more collaborative and data-driven. Now, let's talk about something that's always tough: restructuring the sales force. Change is inevitable, but when it comes to people's jobs and responsibilities, it can be really challenging.
It's tricky, but sometimes you have to make changes to improve performance and adapt to the market. The handbook gives a structured way to manage these kinds of organizational changes.
Okay, I'm listening. What are the key steps to restructuring a sales force the right way?
First, you have to be clear about why you're making the change. What are the specific problems or opportunities that are driving this decision? Is it because sales are down? Is the market changing? Are there new technologies? Once you know the reason, you can start to picture what the new structure will look like.
So you need a clear goal in mind before you start making changes. What are you trying to achieve with this restructure? How will it make the sales organization better overall?
Right. Once you have that vision, the next step is to get everyone on board. This means the sales leaders and the salespeople who will be directly affected by the changes.
Because if people don't understand or support the changes, it's not going to work.
Exactly. You have to communicate clearly, be transparent, and address any concerns people have. Explain why you're restructuring, what the benefits will be, and how it will make everyone's jobs better.
It's also important to acknowledge that change can be scary for people. They might worry about their jobs, their new roles, or how it will affect their pay.
You're right. You have to address those concerns with empathy and offer support throughout the process. Provide training, coaching, and mentoring to help people adjust to their new roles.
It's about showing your team that you care about them and want them to succeed during this change. The human side of things is so important.
It really is. Once you've done all that groundwork, you can start working on the details of the new structure. This means defining roles, responsibilities, who reports to who, territories, all those things that make up the organization.
That sounds complicated, especially for big sales teams. Are there any tools or technology that can make this easier?
Absolutely. Salesforce automation tools, or SFA, can be really helpful. They can help you manage territories, track performance, and automate tasks. They can also give you valuable insights into sales data, which helps you make better decisions about how to organize your team.
So technology can help you design and implement the new structure. But even with the best tools and a good plan, there will always be challenges.
Of course. That's why it's important to keep track of how the restructure is going, get feedback from the sales team, and be ready to make changes as you go.
It's about being flexible and understanding that change is an ongoing process, not just a one-time thing. The handbook also talks about the psychology of change and how to handle the emotional ups and downs that come with big transitions.
It's a good point. Change can be unsettling, even when it's a good thing. People naturally resist change, especially when it feels like their security or routine is being threatened.
It's that fear of the unknown. What are some tips for helping salespeople deal with the emotional side of change?
The handbook stresses clear and consistent communication. Keep your team informed at every step. Explain the reasons for the changes, what the benefits will be, and the timeline. Be honest about challenges and setbacks. And most importantly, listen to their concerns and respond with empathy.
It's about creating a space where people can express their feelings without being judged. The handbook also suggests using storytelling to help people connect with the change.
Yeah, stories can be powerful. Share stories of other salespeople who have successfully gone through similar changes. Highlight the good outcomes and the lessons learned. Help people see the change as a chance to grow and develop, not just a disruption.
It's about focusing on the positive and showing how the change can benefit people. The handbook also talks about celebrating successes along the way.
Absolutely. Recognizing and rewarding those who are adapting well and getting good results can motivate others. It creates a positive feeling and shows that the change is working.
It's about creating a culture of positivity and celebrating those who are thriving in the new environment. Okay, we've covered a lot in this part of our deep dive. We talked about the challenges of recurring revenue models, how important continuous improvement is, and the art of change management.
We have.
But there's one more exciting thing we need to talk about before we wrap up this deep dive AI-driven sales tools.
It's an area that's changing fast and has the potential to revolutionize how salespeople work. We'll get into these AI sales assistants, see what they can do, and talk about how to use them effectively in your sales strategy.
Sounds amazing. I'm ready to hear what the future holds for AI in sales.
Let's dive in.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive. We've been exploring all these changes in sales management, like remember those recurring revenue models, and how important it is to keep improving.
Yeah.
But now we're getting into some really futuristic stuff. AI-driven sales tools.
Right. It's a field that's changing so fast, it's already changing how salespeople do their jobs. The handbook really goes deep into how these tools can, revolutionize the whole sales process.
I have to admit, I'm still a little unsure about AI in sales. I keep picturing robots making calls, and nobody wants that. But the handbook says that's not what it's about.
You're right. It's not about replacing us, it's about making us better. AI sales tools, they're supposed to help salespeople, not replace them. Think of them as, really smart assistants working in the background, giving you insights, doing those repetitive tasks, and freeing you up to build relationships and close deals, the things humans are good at.
So AI is like the ultimate helper, guiding salespeople through the sales process and helping them make smarter decisions.
Exactly.
The handbook divides these AI tools into two types: analytical assistants and verbal visual assistants.
Yeah.
Let's start with the analytical ones. What do they do?
Those are the data whizzes. They're all about finding patterns and giving you those aha moments. Analytical assistants can go through huge amounts of data, like customer info, buying history, market trends, competitor stuff, things a human would take forever to analyze.
So it's like having a whole team of data scientists working for you.
Right, pretty much.
Yeah.
Always analyzing, always looking for that edge that can help salespeople.
Okay, so what are some ways companies are using these analytical assistants today?
Oh, so many ways. They can pinpoint the best leads, figure out who's most likely to buy, even suggest the perfect time to reach out based on past behavior.
Wow.
They can also help personalize your communication, tailoring messages and offers to each person's needs.
It's like they take the guesswork out of sales. Instead of relying on gut feeling, you're making decisions based on data, which is way more reliable.
Absolutely. It's all about working smarter.
Yeah.
The handbook actually talks about UCB, that biopharmaceutical company we mentioned before.
Right.
They had tons of data, but it was all over the place, different systems, hard to make sense of it.
That's a problem for so many companies. Data is only useful if you can actually use it.
Exactly. Well, they teamed up with this consulting firm, ZS, to create an AI tool that brought all their data together.
Smart.
Now, this tool could analyze all that data and tell their sales reps who to target and even how to approach each doctor based on their individual preferences.
That's amazing. It's like personalized sales, tailoring everything to each person.
That's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. UCB saw a big jump in sales and market share after using this AI tool. It gave their team a real advantage.
That's proof that AI in sales isn't just talk, it actually gets results. Okay, let's talk about those verbal visual assistants. They sound even more high-tech. What can they do?
They're the communication experts. They use AI to create content, automate tasks, and just make communication better throughout the whole sales process.
It's like having AI marketing and communication pros on your team.
Basically. They can summarize long reports, take notes during meetings, write personalized sales scripts, even create presentations.
Wow, it's like having a whole marketing department at your beck and call, creating custom content for each potential customer. Are there other ways they can help with communication?
Oh yeah, they can even analyze how a customer is feeling, reading between the lines during a call or email
Really?
to suggest the best way to approach them. Like if someone seems hesitant, the AI might say, hey, change your tone, or give them more info to address their concerns.
It's like having a sales coach right there with you. These tools sound amazing, but how do you actually make them work for your sales team?
That's the key, right? It's not about just buying the fanciest AI software and expecting miracles. You need a plan, training, and constant evaluation.
Right.
First, choose the right tools for your needs. Not all AI is the same.
It's got to fit your sales strategy, the customers you're targeting, and the problems you're trying to solve.
Exactly. Once you've got the tools, train your team on how to use them. But it's not just about the technical stuff.
Yeah.
It's about understanding why these tools are helpful and how they can make them better salespeople.
So it's about changing how people think, not just teaching them how to use software. How do you make sure that happens?
Get the sales team involved from the beginning.
Yeah.
Ask for their input, talk about their worries, make them feel like they're part of the process, not just being told what to do.
I like that. And even after you start using the tools, you need to keep supporting and training people.
Absolutely. Technology keeps changing, so salespeople have to keep learning.
It's all about continuous learning and adapting. And finally, you have to keep track of how these AI tools are doing. Are they actually helping your team reach their goals? Are sales improving? Are salespeople happier?
Those are the important questions. If the tools aren't working, you have to change your approach. It's all about continuous improvement, always trying to get better, and using tech to help your team.
So in this deep dive into modern sales management, we've covered a lot.
We have.
The changing role of the sales manager, the power of data and AI, those recurring revenue models, the importance of always improving, and the strategic role of sales operations.
It's been a journey.
It really has. Hopefully we've given you some good ideas and practical tips to use in your own sales organization.
I hope so.
Now here's a challenge for you. Think about one part of your sales process that could be improved with technology. What's the first step you can take?
Yeah.
Maybe it's trying out an AI sales tool or looking at your data differently. Whatever it is, take action and embrace the possibilities of this new world of sales management.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into something big that's shaping the business world. Until then, Keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing the limits of what's possible in sales.
Thanks for joining us.